for fast, cheap, and reliable Madden 21 Ultimate Team coins. Make sure you guys go check out my sponsor, Easy Mutt. Use code VENM at checkout for 5% off. Yo, what's good guys, Venom Fire here back with another video, and today me bringing you guys another Madden 21 mini scheme. This one's going to be out of the gun spread formation in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive playbook. It's definitely one of the most unique, but still one of the best off-meta offenses in the game. You can really do a lot with it, and you don't necessarily need any abilities to make it work. I'm not going to be using any offensive abilities at all. Ones that you should use to make it better are Gunslinger. You can use Hot Route Master, although I'm not going to need to Hot Route anybody because we have some good stock routes in this offense. O-line abilities do help because the blocking, the protection is not super good out of gun spread. But mainly you're going to be making some hot reads anyway. Also, before we get into the video, I do want to encourage you guys to go ahead, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers. We cannot get there without your help. So if you're new, you're enjoying the content, hit that sub button. It would be much appreciated. Also, follow me on Twitter. Link will be down below in the description. Go ahead, check me out there. But let's hop into it. Here's a look at our audibles. We got Bucks corner, inside zone, quick slot out, and Bucks post trail. There's a couple of other good plays, including things like smash digs. Bucks flood is a good play. There's a couple of other good plays that I'm not going to talk about. If you maybe wanted me to do like a whole Tampa Bay Buccaneers ebook, you could let me know. But for now, we're just going to go over these 4 plays. I have a good amount of setups per play. And yeah, let's hop into it. I'm going to start out with my favorite play, which is Bucks corner. On defense, I'm going to mix in some man coverage, some zone coverage, and also there is going to be a written version pinned in the comment section. So if you want to check that out, you're more than happy to do that. But let's get into it. Again, starting out in this Bucks corner, definitely my favorite play. We have a lot of great stock routes, like I mentioned, in the entire offense. And starting out of this play, we have a nice stock post route with their slot receiver. You also notice that this formation is great because you can get 4 wide receivers. And actually, out of Buccaneers playbook, there are a couple of other formations you can audible to with 4 receivers, so that's pretty nice. But yeah, it's just going to give you more speed, and you're going to be able to beat man coverage a little bit better. Now, for Bucks corner, we have a nice stock post route. We also have this little curl/spot route, I want to call it. It's a little bit deeper than it shows. Just to show you what it looks like stock, you see how it runs to almost about 10 yards. So even though the play art kind of shows it going 5-6 yards, it's actually going to run to about 10 yards. And that's some of the theme with some of these routes as well. You see how the hitch, it looks like it's stopping at 5 yards out of this play. It actually ends up stopping at around 8 yards. So there's a lot of unique stuff. And that's just something that you got to pay attention to. But going back to the Bucks corner, for our first setup, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, smart out A. I'm going to zig Y, and I'm just going to streak X. So here's a look at our setup. Just kind of a basic setup. We have a couple of high-low reads, including A and Y, and then we have RB and B. Also, it's going to be good against man coverage. B should get a little bit of separation against man. The post will, the zig will as well. So we'll start out in zone coverage, though. Go ahead and snap the ball. Also, if you notice something, I do have my running back on this short side of the field. That's something that personally I do kind of prefer. There is a setup, and I think it's out of quick slot out. I prefer the running back to be on the short side because I want that corner out to be on the wide side. So there are certain situations where maybe you put the running back on a different side of the field, but for now, we're going to leave it like this. So we'll just go ahead and snap the ball here. You see against cover 3, easy. B is going to be open the majority of the time, really against almost every coverage. I do think cover 2 defends it relatively well. Let's hop into that, but yeah, this high-low read between RB and B is very, very good because if B were on a standard curl, it would not get open as much, but because it's going inside a little bit, it really does become a very, very difficult route to defend. Again, here it is against Tampa 2. You see how it's defended a little bit better by that vert hook. In this stage game, no one really runs cover 2 like that, and if they are running cover 2, there's not really going to be a vert hook, so that's not something to worry about. Also, if they were to go with a double flat type setup, something like this, where they have double Mabels on both sides of the field, I do believe that it also gets open. Now, I do like to smart out A because sometimes if you don't smart out A, he's going to get bumped and he runs just very, very shallow. But here's a look at the double Mabel. You see how it's just going to be difficult because the spot route's going to be open with B and then the post route's going to be open. He's not going to be able to use both of them without putting another zone in the middle of the field, and then it turns into a 2-man rush. So very simple. Let's hop into the other side of the field on this setup, just taking a look at what we have. We have this zig route that I could easily throw again zone. I'll hop into man coverage here. Overall, it's just a very, very solid setup. Let's run man, smart out A, zig Y, streak X, snap the ball. You'll also notice something with the offense is that I'm not going to use a lot of motion. Now, in a couple of other plays, I think out of Bucks post trail, I use motion, but out of the other two passing plays, I'm not going to use any motion. So that's something that's unique, but it's also good because you can catch people off guard. Anyways, let's move into our second setup out of this. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hitch Y. I'm still going to smart out A, and I'm just going to streak X. So this is just a little bit different. Now, this is going to be better against zone coverage, obviously, because the zig will be better against man, but it's just going to pull things down. It's just going to, you see how it pulls, the hook curls down out of a cover 3. That'll be good if he were to go with like a double Mabel, and then he's going to double flat as well. So this will just give us an additional read if he goes with this double Mabel style setup. Even if he throws like another, defender in the middle of the field, let's say he puts him on a bluff blitz, something like this, that would still be successful because the setup is so good. You have the hitch that's going to be open. You have the spot route that's going to be open. If he ever forgets to, double flat one side of the field, but you see how everything is defended relatively well there, and it's just going to be difficult, or everything is not defended relatively well there. It's just going to be difficult for him to use her. Even though it looks like the hitch might be defended, I can always lowball that, and it's going to be completed. One more time, though, here's a look at our setup. Just streak X. Again, X is just kind of in the way, so we just clear him out. But solid play. If it were man coverage again, it would get open, but you can always step up in the pocket, throw B almost every single time. RB always is open usually as well. Very difficult to defend. Moving into our next setup, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to get another quick snap type setup. I'm just going to smart out A here, and then I'm going to throw X on a little in route. So here's a look. This is just kind of good. You get a little crossing pattern. It's just going to be a little easy read. Now, mainly if I had Playmaker, I would probably put him on X there. There's other situations where we throw Y on the drag, but if I had Playmaker, it's usually going on one of these guys, preferably Tyler Boyd, but we like to keep him on his kind of stock flat route. If I really wanted to, I could go with something like this, but honestly, I feel like this is just a little bit better, and it's also just kind of good to quick snap. And again, it's going to be good against the double Mabel because you're going to have the in route open, you're going to have the post route open, and then you still will have your spot route open. So it's going to give you some options. If it is 2-man under, you hope that your in route can get separation, although that's not exactly the best route against man coverage. It should be able to get some separation, as you see there. It still can, even with a guy like H.A. Green, who's not super fast. Moving into our last setup out of this Bucks corner play, what we're going to do here is we're going to actually put another curl flat concept on that left side of the field. So I'm just going to go ahead, curl X, just like so. And you might think that the post route and curl are going to kind of be in the same area, but mainly you're really never going to have enough time for that post route to ever actually get on the other side of the field. You see how the curl route is open. I don't have Gunslinger, so the ball flutters a lot, especially with a guy like Joe Burrow, who doesn't have all that throw power, but still a very good play here. Again, you can step up. I can check down a Y if I need to. Again, we get hit as we throw. But yeah, just simple concepts. This, I think, is pretty good against something like a double Mabel as well. It's going to be good against man coverage just to kind of beat it quickly because the curl route should get separation as well. I can just aggressive catch, low ball it, and you see there it's going to be an easy pitch and catch. With that being said, we're going to hop into our next play, which will be the quick slot out. Now, quick slot out is a play where I like to have my running back on the short side of the field, so I'm going to respot the ball briefly here. Now, I only have 2 setups out of this play. It's not exactly my favorite, but I still do enjoy running it a little bit. What I like to do here is I'm just going to go ahead, drag Y. It's going to be a quick snap setup. Now, I can also block my running back, but I like to leave him on his little check and release hook. It's going to pull things down, but you see how the corner out does get open now. This corner out honestly could be better on the short side of the field because you have to time it really well in order to get him in that perfect spot. So again, just drag Y. You see how I can just throw it over the top there. With Gunslinger, that's going to be, again, a way easier completion for you. Now, one of the problems I do have with it kind of being on the short side of the field is usually the job of this drag is to pull zones down. So if he's not doing that, he's not really doing anything. And you see how it just takes him forever to get across. It's just a little slower developing. If you wanted it to be faster, I'll show what it looks like after on the short side of the field when I actually respot it. But that's going to be the first setup. Also, if it were to be covered too, I do think that this deep post does get separation. Now, again, it's very slow developing, so I might even want to like chop block here just to get that extra time. something like this. But you see how it gets in a perfect spot against cover 2. So if anyone's ever leaving the middle of the field just open a little bit, take advantage with this play. Moving on to our second setup, though, what we're going to do here is I'm just going to throw Y on a little in route, and I'm going to wheel our running back. Just something like this. Player kind of looks a little bit weird, but the in route's going to kind of slow things down. I could hit RB. Geez, that was such a late throw. My bad on that. But really, the wheel route's meant to pull down things if it's a cover 2, which I should have audibled to. Let's go to cover 2 now. I think the wheel route should pull things down. It's going to open up the corner out a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. Or it actually does open up the wheel route. Sorry about that, but yeah, it's a pretty solid setup. Again, you have to be careful on your reads because you have a lot of things on that same side of the field. It's basically like a flood concept. But yeah, the wheel route's going to be open early. You can easily throw it and like pick up 10 yards, 15 yards as we did right there. Typically, it can open up the corner out late, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So if I wait a little bit, things get pulled down, I can still throw it over the top of that curl flat or cloud flat zone. So it's going to give you options. Again, if I have Y, I can always playmaker Tyler Boyd back to the other side. If I have playmaker on this slot guy, which is usually, again, the guy that I recommend having it on. But yeah, it's just going to give you some options. Pretty solid play. Let's show what it looks like on the short side just briefly with that drag to corner out concept. Or our first setup. Again, you see how it's just going to probably get open a little bit more. And again, I can always playmaker Y out, but you see how A almost seems a little bit more open. Again, you'll have more spacing if he's on the wide side, but you can really run it on either side of the field. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Let's move on to our inside zone now. Inside zone is something that I can kind of mix in some motion with if I want to. Usually I like to motion that A receiver. Now you see how he's just going to kind of pick up that block on the inside. It really does depend on what coverage he's in, but this inside zone is pretty solid. I like to be a little bit patient with it. And again, Joe Mixon is not my favorite running back in the game. He does not feel super slick on the sticks, but you can kind of be patient like that. Typically, running the ball out of spread is not super effective. But if people were to go to like a dollar or a 3-3-5 normal, something where they are daring you to run the ball, you could take advantage of it pretty simply here. Again, you see how that guy on the right is just coming unblocked. There's usually small holes where the user can shoot, especially because you only have those 5 down linemen and no one else is really helping on linebackers, depending on the coverage. But it's solid to mix in. Third and short situations, you can always run the ball. Bengals O-line is not good by any stretch of the imagination, so take that into consideration as well. The block's not developing well. If I tried to, you could potentially take it to the outside, although we did get shedded, but solid run. Again, mainly a pass-heavy formation, but you could mix in the run game if you want to a little bit, and the inside zone is definitely the best run. We did have a little bit better success running it with this motion, so that's something I could do. I'll get a little motion snap, and boom, that linebacker's going to get blocked, and we have a little bit more success, so that's something you can do. But if you do it too much, your opponent could catch on, so be careful with that. Anyways, let's hop into our last play, which will be the Bucks post trail. I have 3 more setups for this, and now we're going to use a little bit of motion in our last 2 setups. Our first setup, I'm just going to smart out B. I'm going to slant A, and I'm going to fade Y. So here's a look. You might think it looks a little bit weird, but A looks like for whatever reason, the slant looks a little bit quicker breaking than the other ones. Like if I put Y on a slant, it looks like Y goes a little bit deeper. That's not necessarily the case, but this little slant to post combo, it's pretty solid because you see there's like around 10 yards of depth in between them when they break. So it's going to be difficult to user. Really, you're not ever going to be able to user both of them, especially when you smart out B. So it's going to be difficult to defend. On the back end, you have that little taper out. I have my hitch, but mainly it's going to be a quick read type of a play. If he is 2-man under, both of those posts and slant should get some nice separation for you. And then the hitch can also kind of get open as well. Now, I do like it better, that slant to hitch combo against man coverage, because again, that hitch, you saw it got jammed at the line of scrimmage. It didn't go out as deep as it should have, but pretty solid combo there. Our next route combo is going to be smart out A. Here we're going to use some motion. I'm going to slant Y, and I'm actually going to motion this corner route over. Now, it's kind of a deep post, but you see when I motion it across, it turns into a corner out. So against man coverage, I do think it is pretty solid. Against man, it gets some good separation as it did there. T. Higgins able to get separation on his post route again. Now, these receivers aren't super good. Don't think any are over 85 overall, but still not too bad to work with. Again, if it is, let's go with man coverage. Let's say they don't have a deep half on that side of the field. I think I can maybe take advantage of it. I have a couple of other man beaters in the slant, the post, the hitch. I could kind of lowball here. And you see how John Ross, he's just going to get really good separation on that corner out. Now, that's a linebacker, but if you have like route tech on that guy, you could get some pretty good separation, I do believe. And again, just kind of a solid play. I think against cover 3, something that you can actually do with it is I can kind of fit him into the seam. So if I get like a really good motion snap animation, like right about here, I think I can kind of fit John Ross in the seam, which is that kind of concept. I do think that's a little bit better with our next setup, and our next setup is going to be very similar to that one. What we're going to do here, I'm going to smoke screen X, I'm going to in Y, so it's a little bit different, just kind of changing up the routes a bit. Still smart out B, and then I'm going to motion John Ross over again. I think this one does get better. It's a little bit more open in the seam, but it's just going to be a solid little high-low read again. It's good spacing on the field. It gives you some options to throw to. And overall, it won't be that bad of a setup. Again, just in Y, smart smokescreen X, motion A over. I really do prefer getting that motion snap animation, but you see how B, you can still throw it over the top. If I wanted to, I'd go with a drag. If I wanted to block my running back, I could go with something like this as well. So I just put him on a drag instead. This setup is not very good because you don't have too big of a threat in the middle of the field. I would prefer playmaker on Y here, but you see how it's going to pull down the zones a little bit better. That is definitely an option. Overall, that's going to do it for the video. If you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more, follow me on Twitter, and peace. I'm out of here.